Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is definitely a video that I did not want to do, but it is the reality of what happens when you have storms come with very heavy rain and you have heavy blooms. So I'm in Connecticut, zone 6B, and this is one of our quick fire fabs. This was the second year that it was in the ground, and this thing has been growing like crazy. But as you can see, we have one of the main branches, which is pretty thick. It's pretty much destroyed. I highly doubt. I'm gonna try my best to try to prop it back up and wrap it very tightly with some type of rope or something, just to try to see if it will heal. But I lost a ton of beautiful blooms that were gonna be really big. Like, this thing is huge and it wasn't even finished yet. And like I said, unfortunately, I lost a very good branch. And that's what happens with these things. Something I probably could have done was, I could have possibly took some string and tied all these things together. And, there's a good chance that that may have not happened. And as you can see, a lot of these shrubs now are leaning over like crazy just from all the weight that the blooms had. And like I said, that's definitely something that, I could have possibly prevented, but I didn't realize the storm was going to be that bad. I didn't realize we were going to get that much rain. And, like I said, this is the result, unfortunately. Even though I had these things originally kind of propped up, it's hard to see, but there was some holders that I had, almost like a tomato holder, that held the first year's growth up. And this is from the first year's growth. You can see where I clipped it and it started branching out. But unfortunately, like I said, this is some of the stuff that you may deal with. And had I wrapped this whole thing up in string once the flowers started developing on the plant, I probably could have had that branch saved and it probably wouldn't have been an issue. But unfortunately, stuff like this does happen. Like I said, these are limelight primes, and usually these are very strong, but just due to some of the weight, you have these branches that are hanging now. Now, like I said, these can be easily tied up to some of the other stronger branches, and that'll look fine. So it's not really a huge deal. Usually the limelight primes are pretty good with holding their weight. It's another quick fire fab, and yeah, it's luckily this one hopefully isn't broke. So you can see I have these cages that held up most of them, and hopefully this one isn't broken either. No, it's just hanging on by a thread, so it's definitely a good thing. The strawberry vanilla, like I said, again, super heavy. Even the tree form one that I had in my original garden tour, I lost a big branch that was literally right in the middle of it. And, that's a bummer. But like I said, these things get super heavy. You can see I have some stakes in there holding this up for the original first growth. You can see that I got those on Amazon. Like I said, these things are super heavy. So I got a lot of tying that I'm going to end up doing just to prepare these things for any future problems or storms that, may happen. Like I said, here's some more stuff that I don't know if it's broke or not. Hopefully not. But like I said, the blooms were just so heavy and soaked that they put so much weight on the branch that they ended up breaking it, which is, really a bummer. Yeah, like I said, more than likely, I'm just going to have to take these flowers inside. I can clip off some of this branch, maybe try to propagate it. I'm going to try to, like I said, seal that back up as best as I can, and hopefully it will heal itself. It may or may not, but like I said, I lost 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 huge blooms that really would have been beautiful, and it's such a shame that that happened. But like I said, that's the reality of it. I'm going to go over to one of the limelight trees that I had that was also leaning like crazy. I actually just made a shorts video on it. If you want to look at my channel, you could see, but I'll kind of show you what I did. So let me get over to it real quick. All right, so here's one of the limelight trees, and literally you could see this thicker stem right here. This one was leaning all the way down almost farther than that. So I kind of took some string and some twine and kind of tied it to there. I tied that main branch and another big one together to kind of hold this whole big canopy up. And you know, luckily I got to this one before the rain started really pouring down, and I was able to save this from really having any you know, breakage of stems. Like I said, this thing was bending like crazy. I couldn't believe how much it was bending. Oh look, there's a bird's nest in here. Huh, there's a bird's nest in there. That's interesting. But yeah, I was able to save this one, and I'm definitely going to keep it staked just so that, you know, any future problems I won't have. I should have really staked this from the beginning when I transplanted it, but you know, it just didn't have the weight and I wasn't really thinking about it. But yeah, like I said, let's see if you could see it. Might be a little hard, but I definitely, like I said, okay, so you can see here that here's some string, and I tied it from, like I said, that big branch there, and it's going to this big branch right here. So it's really holding each other up in a sense. Like I said, that's pretty thick. It's a pretty thick stem. Here's some more of the bird's nest in there. But like I said, it just did not have the strength. Those blooms were just way too big, and they haven't even really bloomed yet. And like I said, I had to take measures to make sure that this thing would not end up getting crushed. I'll go over to the strawberry vanilla tree real quick to show you that. And like I said, I lost the main leader branch and I lost a bunch of big blooms. So I took part of the cutting and I put it in some soil. We'll see if it grows, and then the rest I just put a vase inside the house just to enjoy it a little bit. But let me get over to the strawberry vanilla real quick. So this was a quick fire fab tree that I had. It was a very small tree form, but even before this major storm, I had issues and a broken branch. Same deal, like I said, you saw from the video, these things are just hanging like crazy now. This one's hanging like crazy. Like I said, just waiting for these things to fully dry out, and then I'll try to bring them up and tie them as best as I can. But here's the strawberry vanilla. I tried to tie some of them up. As you can see, there's some rope there, but one of these main branches that had a bunch of big blooms like this thing literally split. It was about 4-inch split like that, and you know, there was nothing that it literally broke off. So I just ended up clipping it. It's like right above a leaf node. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you could just see this stuff is super heavy. So I got to figure out something. Definitely, when I deadhead this in the winter, that will help with the branches, but I'm going to have to do some very hard pruning because this overall structure really needs to thicken up and get stronger to possibly avoid some stuff like this. But luckily I still have some of these. Luckily these are still here. Happy that, you know, it didn't really break, and some of the support on the fence helped out big time. But yeah, like I said, it really stinks. Now this limelight, this is a more mature tree. As you can see, the stump is very thick and the whole canopy has a lot more strength. And obviously the blooms are not as heavy and not as full right now, but nothing is, I mean, you got the little tiny branches, but for the most part, it's all where it needs to be. So total bummer, but you know, this is what happens with heavy blooms. There's nothing you could really do about it. There was a branch over here that ended up breaking. I tried tying it together. That's gonna just end up getting tossed out. I'm pretty sure it's gonna die, but nothing too much I can really do about it now. I'm probably just gonna let it go. Wait till a hotter day and then lightly prop these up and just take twine or string and keep tying it around and try to keep them all up like they were in the first video. Definitely a shame to make this, but like I said, this is the reality of it, and sometimes you just got to deal with it the best you can. But if you prepare and stay ahead, once the blooms start coming out, start wrapping it in some type of string or twine, and that would definitely help keep everything upright. And when you have storms like we had in Connecticut last night, you won't really have these problems. So hopefully this video will be helpful for you guys. Definitely take precaution when you're going to have storms, even beforehand. The sooner your flowers start coming out, the sooner you wrap it up. And hopefully you won't have to have, you know, some of these issues that I had, because like I said, this is like a joke. It's like, what am I doing with this thing? But we'll figure it out. But I appreciate all you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.